Hello and welcome to my video. What I want to do today is just some clouds and a bit of landscape. I haven't painted for a while because my voice sort of comes and goes. I've got a problem with my thyroid, so it's playing havoc with my voice at the moment. And so anyway, that sort of stopped me painting, but I think hopefully my voice will last to the end of this video. Just before I get going though, let me just tell you a couple of things about this. I'm going to give you this in inches because most people are watching from America anyway. It's about 23¼ inches wide by 15½ deep. I'll put that on the screen in centimetres as well. And I'm sort of just going to play with colours here. I've got a few on a palette, although I won't be mixing everything on here because there isn't room. I use a piece of glass on my work surface. So I've got Payne's grey, red ochre, white, titanium white, ultramarine blue, sap green, and a little bit of royal blue. And at the moment I've mixed white, red ochre and Payne's grey. And what I want to do is sort of prove to you that skies don't necessarily need to be blue. They can be all kinds of colours depending on the theme of the picture. However, I've put a bit of blue in this now to make a bluey grey. So in other words, what I'm not going to do is like a bright blue sky with white clouds on it. Don't want to do that. I'm going to make up a colour as I go, and it's basically what I just mentioned, Payne's grey and red ochre. It's quite an interesting colour with a bit of white thrown in, and you get this sort of effect like that. I know there are people out there who will say, "Yeah, that's horrible," but bear with me. It is all paintings start off looking rough to start with. It's the nature of the beast, as they say. You know, you have to break eggs to make omelettes. So let's just put some shapes in. I'm not going to, I'm not penciling anything in. This is just purely let's see what happened type painting. At the bottom, I might put some I don't know, land or sea. I'm not quite sure yet. I quite like the idea of the sea, but with the tide out. Maybe cliffs with, water way out, tides disappeared, something like that. Or I might do the hills that I usually do, that sort of stuff. Anyway, and before I go on, you may notice if my head appears in the picture, I'm wearing a hat. Now the reason I'm wearing the hat is because it holds my microphone. I've tried wearing it under my chin. I do have a beard, not exactly I don't have a Ziggy Top beard. I have a sort of neat sort of beard. However, it just keeps rubbing on the microphone. I've tried moving it further away and I just can't get the sort of sound quality that I want. So I thought, well, let's put it on the hat, see what happens. I've been doing that for a few videos now, actually. It seems to work. So these colours, I'm just, that was what I mixed just now, that colour there. I'm just adding a bit more white to it. And I'm going to put that just below it here. I'm not interested in any big contrasts at the moment. I want interest more than anything. Just, as I often say to people, play. Because when you start playing, you never know what's going to turn up. Apparently, I like all these sort of bits of research they do, but apparently creative people are usually creative because they never forgot the ability of playing. They play, which is exactly what I'm doing here. This is the most fun I've had in weeks. So what we're after is sky, essence of sky. I'm not interested in going out and looking at a blue sky. You won't actually, I don't think so anyway, I don't think you'll find any one of my paintings that's just flat blue. I don't see the point. What on earth would be the point? Now I've got to watch out for reflections on this because the light is sort of, you know, up there to the right, and it's probably going to bounce off the painting a bit. Well, you may not be able to tell, but I've been pushing the light around all over the place. It's sort of okay. It'll give you an idea of what's going on anyway. I've been thinking of spending some money on better lighting, but I don't know that I'm going to get there. That's usually due to not enough money, but anyway. Right, so let's have a little... I'm kidding. Even if I had a lot of good lighting in here, I don't think it's the right size of room. Maybe I should move. Okay, so there we've got all these greys and browns. Yes, brown. You can use brown in the sky. You can use any colour you like. You can make any mistakes you want, because are they mistakes? I don't know. I don't think they are. I don't think there's any. I don't think there are mistakes. I think there are opportunities. So there are now. I've got a lighter colour just along the what might be the horizon eventually. And the reason I do that is so that when I paint the landscape or seascape or whatever scape, it'll blend into the sky. Usual stuff. You can do this at home. If nobody takes any notice of you, you can do this in your office. By the way, I'm not using much oil, hardly any, putting a tiny touch on. I think I want a little dark patch there. In fact, I want a big dark patch there. I'm just using one brush at the moment. I may use this brush for everything. I think I want something there. Yeah, why not? I'll be going over it with a bigger brush in a minute to you know, soften stuff down a bit. Usual stuff. I have a definite technique. Put paint on thinly, don't put it on thickly. If you put it on thick and it goes wrong, or what you perceive to be wrong, then you've got a lot of paint to work through and shift. If you put it down almost as a stain, which is what I'm trying to do here, then it's easier to handle. And in fact, I'll show you in a minute with some paper how easy it is to handle. But I'm going to have some nice dark up there, I think. Dark, neutral to dark. It's probably slightly more on the dark side. But there we are. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Just kind of streaks in it, lumps, bumps, you name it, anything you like. So there we go. There's our nice, dark, slightly mysterious looking sky. I still haven't got this lighting right, have I? If you're still here, then I have to say I admire your courage. I think that's probably better. Definitely has some intriguing things going on in the sky. A little bit of something just there. Why not? Just to make it bounce a bit. Bounce? No, wrong word. Jump. Just to make it jump a bit. I quite like the effect that's having in the middle there. And in fact, I think that needs to have something up there too. Why not? Okay, now, so we've got the dark side, and I think we should have a light side. So what I'm going to do, I've got all these colours here, but I'm going to add a little bit more pink to it, but this is not red and white. How do you make pink? Red and white. Well, this is red ochre. Red ochre and white gives you this colour. It's almost like a flesh colour, actually. There we are. So there's all kinds of stuff going on in the sky. I don't know what's caused this. It's probably a storm. My paintings tend to be a little bit storm orientated, I guess, but that's because the skies are more interesting to me. Right, so this is the first brush. Okay, that's a 3 centimetre wide brush, which is just over an inch, about an inch, I suppose. And then big brush, bigger, 7 centimetres. And all I'm going to do with that is soften everything. But not, I'm not going to soften everything right down, because what would be the point? There would be no point. If I just blur everything right down, then you'll lose contrasts, and I just can't abide it. I have to have my contrasts. So there we are. There's a softened version of what I've done. I'm going to sit and look at that for a bit. Not literally. I mean, I'm not going to go and sit down. Let's grab a bit of paper. I'm going to, I'm going to wipe this first of all. Now, what I could do, there's several ways you can move on from this point. I could get a palette knife and I could put white paint on there, but I don't think I want to quite yet. I think what I want to do is just add, you see, I've got this dirty brush here. This is the one that's done everything at the moment. Now, what I could do, I can take off some of this paint. It's not exactly dripping in paint. I've got to really rub it hard to get just that off. And I'm not using thinner, obviously, because I don't use it. And there we are, just so that it's, there's no way, nothing will ever come off that brush. It's basically a stained brush. And the next thing I'm going to do is just pick up some white. Just a few bits on the tip of the brush, not a lot. And then figure out compositionally where I think it might be interesting. And to be honest, I think I like that bit. I like the fact there's light catching that. Okay, but I think there should be light coming down from the top. Okay, so I'm putting paint on. I'm not overworking it. I'm putting the paint on, and then as soon as I've got the paint applied, I'm moving on to the next bit. And I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more to that. So what I'm after is sparkle. Sparkle and twinkle. I'm quite surprised that my voice is still holding on. I've got the problem I've got is I'm being tested for Hashimoto's, which affects your thyroid, makes you very tired, and but it makes your voice go. It sounds as though as though you're in pain, but I'm not, and I don't have a cough or anything like that. But it just takes your voice away. So I don't know what's going to happen about that. I don't really want to lose my voice. So who would? I wouldn't. I don't. Okay, so there's some slightly more twinkly bits in the sky. Doesn't take long, does it? When you think about it. I don't know how long I've been going. I can never tell looking at my camera. It just sort of goes, So it feels like 20 minutes maybe, I don't know. Anyway, So, and I have no idea what I'm going to put on the landscape. I mean, I sort of, you know, it'll either, as I said, it'll either be a seascape or a landscape. So I have to say I do quite like landscapes, slightly more than seascapes. So in this area up here, this sort of pinky, strange area, I don't know what time of day this is. It could be, I don't know, it could be evening coming on, couldn't it? Definitely a stormy evening. Let's just have a few little flurries floating about over here, which we do down there. Let's tell you what I might do. What might I do? I might have an even whiter bit. If I just put a bit more light paint on that. A little bit of something for a few minutes' time. A little bit more blurring, but much lighter now. Very, very lightly. Hardly touching the board. Oh, I get, let's do some Q&As. I get loads and loads of questions on YouTube, and I'm glad that I do. I like the fact that people make comments. Feel free to make as many as you like. But I get asked the same thing. People say, can I do this in acrylics? Well, you know, the answer is I have no idea. Can you? You can paint a picture that looks like anything I paint using acrylics, but the technique to get there is not the same that I am using. This oil paint, you see, will be dry and mobile for the next, at least, I don't know, I guess over 24 hours anyway. I've never really actually recorded the time. Depends on how much oil you add to the paint, but this'll be mobile for a long time. Now, if this was acrylics, it wouldn't be. You can use retardants, and you can spray water on your painting and end up with a sort of drippy, watercolory mess. And I don't do that. I never wanted to do that. I mean, I have done it because I had to teach it for a while. But it's just not so forgiving as oil paint. You can play with oil paint. So that's one question. Okay, so that's the answer to that. The other one is, what sort of paper do I use? Okay, well, it's called APTA, A-P-T-A. Now, if you're in France, and then maybe England, I'm not sure what they sell in England, you can find it in a supermarket. It comes in a big roll. I've already started using this one, obviously, but it's quite a nice big chunky roll. Lasts for quite a long time. And it's not too, it's got a texture, but it's not too textured, and it's quite solid. It doesn't tear as easy as some. Don't get the fluffy printed patterned stuff that you normally get for your kitchen. It won't work. It'll fall apart, and you don't want it to fall apart. So that's the paper, APTA. What's the other thing? The wood, it's Okoume, O-K-O-U-M-E. It's an African mahogany, and it's not like red mahogany. It's, I think in France they would call it a blonde wood. Don't use pine. Pine is totally useless for this sort of thing. They'll just fall apart. There we are, a few more blurry bits. And as I said, very, very light touch. There we go. I've got, while I'm doing this and thinking about what I will actually do for the landscape part, I've got a 2-day event coming up soon. So if you keep an eye on my Facebook page, I always put an advert up before these things happen. If you become a patron via my Patreon page, you get money off. So if you pay, I don't know what it is. How much is it? I think it's about €30. If you pay €30 a month, you get free entry into 2 classes a month. Normally, to get in a class, it's €30. So you get 2 classes for the price of 1. These are my Zoom classes, and they're called Paint and Chat. And basically, I paint. That's quite interesting. I paint for usually about an hour, sometimes longer, depending on how long I can stand up. And then we talk about the paintings. So people will paint. You can either paint with me or you can just watch if you want. Doesn't matter. And then at the end, people send me they email me their paintings, and then I go over it in Photoshop to show you how you can change it to make it better. And if you want me to, you don't have to, of course. But that's the way it usually goes. It's always good fun, nice bunch of people. You don't have to paint, as I said, you can just watch. You can watch and chat without painting anything. But we keep it on the subject of painting. Not interested in current events, politics, or anything like that. Okay, I think we want a little bit, just, well, I say a little bit, I mean a big bit. What else? Yeah, so, yeah, if you want to become a patron, you get benefits. I don't actually put much on my Patreon page, but it does financially benefit people. Apart from it, obviously it financially benefits me a little bit, and I'm extremely grateful to those of you who are already patrons. You are keeping me going. I do appreciate it very, very much. So there we are. There's a sky. It doesn't get any easier than that, does it? I mean, and it's not a traditional sky. It's just an interesting sky. Now, the landscape. Landscapes are fun. I still haven't made my mind up whether it's going to be land or sea, but I suspect land. And what size brush shall I use? The thing about landscapes. In fact, I'm going to move my palette. So I'm now going to I'm going to be painting on my work surface. As I said, it's got a piece of plate glass on it, and I like the fact that, you know, I mean, it's got edges, but there's a lot more room to play on here than there is on a paper palette. And I'll tell you something, one thing I must remember, and that is to clean the palette straight afterwards. Grey. Need a bit more grey. Do I need grey? Maybe I can get away with not having too much grey. All right, sap green and red ochre. And a very, very simple landscape. Distant woods on the hills. And I've got a whopping great hair just there. Do I need to get rid of that? I think so. There we go, gone. Okay, so let's just see what happens when we, as I said, don't forget, playing. Playing is very important. Several other artists will say this. When you play, when you're having fun, your mind is more receptive. Is that the right word? Maybe it's not receptive. Maybe I'm thinking something else. You can sort of regurgitate memories better when you're in a happy mood. Okay, now what I'm doing here as you can just about see, I can see it very clearly obviously, but you can't, is I'm pushing the land into the sky. And I'm keeping this as a very flat landscape. If I do lots of bumps like this, which I will not do, everything will look amateurish. If I do large sweeping shapes, everything looks big and open. It's just the way it is. And you know, I'm actually tempted to paint a windmill. I like, I've always liked Dutch landscape painting. This is not based on any particular painting, this is just me sort of experimenting and pushing paint, just trying to get an effect really. So it's sort of abstract landscape. Let's just get the shapes on there. Get the colours on. You know, I'm a tonalist come abstract painter. I like the paint to actually do stuff rather than me have to work hard drawing a landscape. I would rather push the paint on like this in lights and darks to see what actually comes out, because something will. It always does. And I think I need to get a little bit more grey. So bear with me while I find it. Got it. Now, oh yes, right. Several people continually, in fact, want to see my palette. Now, you've seen my paper palette. The actual palette looks like this. So there you are. That's why I don't bother showing people much. It's nothing, as they say, nothing to write home about. So now I've got some Payne's grey, and I'm going to add a bit of oil. I just want to do some nice dark shapes. Just enough to, there we go, that's what I want. Just to sort of be interesting. There we are. So all I'm after, you see, is the overall painting is not, you can't say, oh, this is a barn or a farm in a landscape. It's just landscape. It's landscape without buildings or people. This is something I've been doing for quite a few years now. And the reason I do that is because, just as a reminder, I'm sure people probably, if you follow me, you know probably, but I've been a commercial artist since 1972, which is a long time ago. I was trying to explain it to my cat the other day. My cat, it's okay, I'm not insane. My cat in cat years is about 44 years old. In people years, you know, it's not many, maybe 7 or 8 years. And she just turned up one day. Lovely cat. I've always liked cats. And yeah, all my life, commercial artist, painting what people want me to paint, or drawing what people want me to draw. And I'll show you this, which is a scraper board. Scraper board is when you have ink on a board and you scrape away to make the image. So I'm going to put this on manual focus, autofocus. This is what I have done. And that is why I don't want to do it anymore. Used to do things like that. Used to do drawings of whatever the client wanted. Now I don't. Now I do what I want, and this is what I want to do. Simple stuff. Simple stuff that just gets the feeling across without spending hours hunched over a drawing board, which probably didn't do me any good whatsoever. I get to stand up, walk about, and paint pictures. Now, what I'm doing here, this is totally experimental down here. I'm just sort of, you can see there's an interesting texture down there, and I just want to see what happens, basically. But that little wood there, and it looks now. I'm trying to vary my vocabulary. It's interesting. I find it mysterious and intriguing when you have contrasts like this. And compositionally, I just want to explain something to you. Right. What you don't want is like one there, one there, one there, one here. Right. What you want, and trust me on this, is say one here, but connect them, so that you don't end up with separate islands. Try to actually make them all work together. This is nowhere near finished here yet. Let's see what happens if we put something there. But then we do something here. Not quite sure what that's going to be. Just after shapes. As I said, it's abstract landscape. And then once you've got this, you see this is also drawing without drawing. Once I've got all these shapes in the right place, or what I feel is the right place, then I can let them dry and I can go back over them in the future and add more colour in the form of a glaze. And if you want to see some glazing, if you look in the top right corner, every now and then you'll see a little thing flash up and it will give you, a little eye. I think it's got an eye on it. I never really looked. It's got an eye on it, I think. Not a human eye, the letter I. And you click on that, it'll take you to another video that I think might be of interest to you. So I have plenty of glazing videos. Just going to move my gripper slightly out of the way. I'm known for my clumsiness, so I've got to be really careful when I do that. I have actually sent a few things bouncing around the room by undoing the grippers too much. What am I doing down here? Is this going to be water? It's got a wet look, isn't it? You see, all these pieces of grass and reeds without painting one. It's just making the brush do the work for you. In fact, I'm going to do that right across there, and in fact, I'm going to do it all the way down here. Yeah, it's a little bit of water in the landscape. Why not? But just there, not here. I don't want it here. So I'm going to just solidify that. Just doesn't get any more simple. Okay, I like that. That's working quite nicely. So I think a bit more green, a bit more Payne's grey, a bit more red ochre. These are the colours that, these are my go-to colours. Or I think what you could call the usual suspects. I just happen to like these colours very much because they're so flexible. Let's have have something there too. That'll catch the eye. Now, it could break into the sky. Doesn't have to. It sort of looks okay as it is. So maybe I won't do that, or maybe I will because you're here and you've taken the trouble to stay with me. I'm going to just let it break the horizon slightly there. Now, I've done this before on a painting and somebody says, oh, I like the person standing there. It's not a person standing there, it's a tree. So should I have two of those? Maybe one's enough. I think one's enough. Although there is a place I drive past. In case you don't know, I live in France. And it's got loads of these great big trees. Right, I think it needs something there. Let's have a couple over there. There we go. Just impressions of distant trees. Do I like them? Not over keen on them. So, tell you what I'll do. I'll show you what the paper's for. The paper isn't just for wiping your brush. The paper is also for painting with. And that's what I'm going to do. We've got our nice sky, so we might as well try and have the landscape looking quite nice as well. Now, I'll do my best to keep out of the way. I'm better at it than I used to be. I was always in the way. But I think you can probably just see that. So what I'm going to do is just put that on there like that and just move it to the side and see what it does. And I definitely think I prefer that. I'll be going over it again with a brush, but I think I prefer that. Simplified, and as I always say to people, when you're doing this, look at the marks you're making. Don't be too keen to over-wipe. If I decided to clean that and I go, you know, like, totally obliterate it, I would lose these very interesting streaks. Or these intriguing streaks, whatever kind of streaks you think they might be. In the middle there, what do I want there? Am I happy with that? Always ask yourself these questions. Am I actually happy with that? I'm not totally happy, so I'm going to just sort of do this. Like so. And I think I'm much more ecstatic than I was 30 seconds ago. Okay, that's sort of reasonable. And now that I've done this here, I'll make this. I'm not worried about the top, funnily enough. I quite like the distance that I've got there. I think all I'll do is just sort of sculpt a few shapes. Into the paint. Like so. Reasonable. Now I could get a small brush and I could sort of tickle in a few sort of small bushes, but I see no reason to at the moment. It's starting to look the way I want it to look. Do I still like that tree there? I don't like the fact that some people might look at that and say, oh, there's a guy standing next to a lake there. I'll leave it for now and see how it goes. So what am I going to do here? I think just a few touches. I think that might be it. The only thing I think I want to do, see, I've got this distant hill here. This is something I'm surrounded by. In France, the landscape is very like that. And I think I'm going to just sort of just fiddle with it just here. Just a little bit, just so that you're not quite sure where the sky and the land separate. That's sort of, yeah, that has interest. Now over there, I like the fact that that's got a bit of contrast next to it, but the sky and the land here, I think I'm going to do the same sort of thing I did over there. Make sure that you can actually see what's going on. And then just sort of agitate the two. Together, so that it just sort of disappears into the mist. I think that's okay. I've got a line going down at the edge, never like that. So I'm going to just build up something just at the edge of the picture, like so. So I think that might be it. My next class, by the way, is next Saturday. Next Saturday being the 11th of May. Of course, by the time you see this video, it will possibly might have passed, but if it's going to be about foliage, how to make foliage. So you've seen there how I made grass and reeds and rushes and stuff like that. But it's going to be sort of more in depth, how to make texture in a landscape, rather like the one that's on the screen now. So if ever you've struggled to make leaves and texture, hopefully if you come to that class, I will solve that for you. So let's have a look at the sky and the land together. Just a bit of a move there. And pull it back. And up a bit again. I think, there you go, you can see everything. So there we are, it's a quick little landscape. And really, that's all there is to it. Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've learnt something. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.